Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, where we have a great race ready for you between Sabre Wolf and KunckleyKong, a solo Celes run submission for gamers against suicide. I am Physics Shebang, joined on comms by the one and only Drinks Glue, with Gretham on tracking, and Sir Schwantz turning the knobs for us. How you doing this fine evening, Glue?
You know what, Physics? I am doing fantastic. I am super excited for this. I love a good solo challenge run. I am all for doing innovative and creative things, and we have a real treat in store for everybody tonight.
Boy, do we, and I know that you have a lot of experience in this arena, being one of the only two people that I know of that have finished the solo Umaro run. What kind of challenges do you think we might face in this solo Celes run with Shock?
Well, just to recap on what our runners are facing. So what we've done is the starting party is reduced to just Celes, and our runners have a gentleman's agreement that they will only use Celes throughout the entire run, wherever it's possible. Except for obviously Kefka's Tower, where you have to have other party members walking around progressing their way through the tower. But those characters can only wear a Moogle Charm. They do not fight. You have to do all of the fights with Celes. And yeah, very interesting challenge. Again, gentleman's agreement. No way to hardcode us just using Celes, but nevertheless, that is the main challenge that they will have is having the one character. And you'll find that there are certain bosses where maybe you can lose a character once or twice and you never realize you're much of a threat. Because obviously once you lose your one character, that's a reset. You're going down.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of enemies in this game, not just bosses, but random enemies in general that can just outright kill you if they feel like it. So it definitely adds a whole new layer of difficulty and just more to think about as you go through the seed with a solo character.
Yeah, and we'll find the greatest challenge is going to be the final fight, because everything about the final fight in Final Fantasy VI is designed to pick off characters here and there. Which is why their death counters are so devastating. Is to force you to develop your entire party throughout the game. But obviously, with a solo character, if that character gets picked off, we're not going up anymore. We're going down. So that I think that's what we'll see is a lot of here and there threats that you don't realize, and obviously the final fight will be a big one once we get there.
Absolutely. I'm interested to see what kind of tactics they have to pull out in order to get through this. Again, I watched your solo Amaro run, and it was an adventure, to say the least.
They always are. You're also at the mercy of what the seed gives you, but in this one, we do pumped up the equip rate to 100% to allow completion of the final boss, so that way you're able to work with whatever the seed has given you. So, for example, Celes by default can't wear a red jacket, can't wear a snow muffler. If that is the best piece of armor the seed gives us, that's what we'll be able to use to get through that trial fight.
That is very generous of us to allow everybody to equip everything. Well, I say everybody, but to allow Celes to equip everything. That does at least add a little bit of an extra edge for this challenge.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we know where we're gonna. There's a couple interesting wrinkles. One, let me explain, is that we can be locked at Kefket Narsh as far as progression. It just won't be character number one at Kefket Narsh, if that makes any sense. So what I mean by that is we can find possibly Sabin at the Opera House and then continue the rest of the checks and all the savings checks, and none of those wield a character. And then we can find a character at Kefket Narsh that allows us to continue throughout the seed. All right, and we are off. Obviously, we don't need to see the starting party because we know it's Celes. We know she has Shock, and we're just going to try to find stuff. And Sabre was going to Albrook. KunckleyKong's going to Narsh. A little more traditional start there for Knuckley.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice to go to Albrook first. Do you have any idea of why that would be the choice as the first place to go?
Well, Celes was an Imperial General, and she did probably at some point in time smash and attack Albrook along with Miranda and Pot and Zen. So maybe she's just feeling a little reminiscent for her crimes and wants to go back there and make amends.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. She'll make amends by spending a little bit of money there, help the local economy. You know, it's good. You know, you got to do what you can do, right?
Yeah, maybe a good apology here and there. Sabre Wolf did find a ribbon right away, and that's important because we do need a ribbon for some of the few parts of Final Kefka and other fights as well. Because again, if you get stoned, if your character gets muddled, there's no one there to bail them out. It's a game over. So a ribbon is a great piece of equipment to have in a solo run.
Oh, absolutely. Status effects can just ruin even the best of runs with multiple characters. I can't imagine how devastating they can be in a run where you're just one character.
Most definitely, and then a lot of Worlds Collide seeds, you'll see a lot of runners fade defense for offense. You can't really do that because you have to have some survivability, whether that's through physical defense, whether that's through elemental nullification. You got to find some way somehow to keep your character alive.
Definitely, and I do see that there is a Cat Hood available as well, so Albrook's pretty stacked. Cat Hood's a very good helmet to find.
Yeah, half off 3 of the damage from the big elements, and also quite a bit of evasion stacked there, along with a nice stat boost. I think what Sabre Wolf is doing, you see the little pauses when he discovers a good item in the shop. I think what he's doing is writing down where he found everything, because you may not be able to afford it now, but you will find that some bosses you need some different things to take them off. So you will see some equipment builds. So Illumina, typically you slap an Illumina character and you say GG, that character is done. And a run like this, if you find an Illumina for your Celeste, that's going to solve the problem for, probably 70% of the bosses, but there's some where you're going to need some ability to ignore defense, like a Magi Master or a Doom, for example.
Definitely, or even for other reasons, something like Goddess, who's going to absorb that pearl. An Illumina might not be the best choice for her either. Though if you don't get a proc, you're generally okay. Now, I had mentioned earlier that this is a submission for Gamers Against Suicide. Just a little bit of an information. This is the group Gamers for Hope. Their mission is to leverage the universal language of gaming to support charitable causes, and this one will be Gamers Against Suicide, a 72-hour-long marathon supporting the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. As they stated, it's by far their longest event, and one of their most fun. So we are hoping to be able to participate in that as well.
Another ribbon for Sabre Wolf. He did find an experience egg there in South Figaro. KunckleyKong found a flame shield. Flame shield's fantastic. That's some elemental nullification. Flame and fire is the one you want first and foremost, because that's what you will come across first and foremost throughout the game. And then he picked up a ribbon on his own, so he doesn't have to worry about buying one. He's got one in his inventory now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And even that flame shield, if maybe they get lucky enough to find Merton, that could be just your all-in-one offense, defense, healing all at the same time. So that can be huge in this particular flag set.
Yeah. Thunder Shield there for Knuckly as well. A little bit of Bolt 2 if he wants it.
Good amount of loot to start here. Finding ribbons, cat hoods, multiple shields, and experience eggs. So they're running pretty quick out of the gate here. Oh, but KunckleyKong sold that ribbon. So
yeah. Bold move there by Knuckly. Let's see if that comes back to bite him later on. He's saying, I don't need your status protection. I got this. I got that dog in me.
That is a daring move. I am interested to see how that works out for him.
Another thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Physics.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say I see Sabre Wolf is taking the back entrance to the basement here. I see he's taking a very interesting route through this seed in general, straight to Albrook and then the back door through to the basement.
He's doing a little bit of everything backwards. Maybe he'll go to Kefka's Tower before he does this check down here in the basement as well. Just backtrack all the way up here. But I was going to say, I think it's important too, in these solo challengers runs, that once you find, you don't have to sell everything, just because once you find, one piece of armor that you like, that's it. You can just hold on to it. You don't need to sell stuff for other money for other characters, because, they're not going to be there. So once you find, the one shield, you can hold on to your ribbons, you can hold on to your elixirs, you can hold on to, the random swords and stuff that you may not typically use, but sell for money. Because in the Colosseum, everything is visible by virtue of the Moogle Cup flags and the way that they were built. So all those little loose items here and there, you possibly want to hold on to and get to the Colosseum and see what they can be cashed in for.
That is a fantastic idea, actually. I didn't even think about that. You don't need to buy as much, so you might as well save it. And also, I think they've gotten 4 or 5 shields so far, so they're very loaded up on shields, it looks like. There were 2 shields just in the basement alone.
Yeah. Also want to point out that with just a Celeste start, that means we have 2 options now that we've both done the South Figaro Prisoner. We can go to Opera House, or we can go to Magitech Factory, or a character could possibly get Kefka at Narsh, as I mentioned earlier, but we won't be able to get that character yet. So, where are you going, Physics? Are you going to the Opera House? Are you going to Magitech Factory first? What would be your move here?
I'm going to do 100% the Opera House, strictly for grinding. When it comes to the Magitech Factory, you have to chew through 2 bosses before you get to any grind fights. So if you're not going to take any of those in advance, just somewhere else in the world, I say Opera House. And I do prefer to do my grinding at a grind check if possible. And that one does have, is it 4 fixed encounters there? If I recall correctly, that can just really get those levels you need before you head off into Magitech Factory.
That is true. There are 2 type of formations between the various rats and the Opera House. I will say, though, that at Magitech Factory, there is a forced fixed encounter on the steps right when you enter the Magitech Factory that you can kind of milk if it is a lucrative fight. What I've done every once in a while with a Celeste start, when I get your point about Opera House, it's just if those rats aren't paying dividends, and then it's just really, really awkward sometimes when you go there first. So there's been a time or two where I like to go on down to the Magitech Factory, take off my Moogle Charm, and then hit that sweet spot on the stairs right when you enter to the left. See what that encounter is. If that is a quick encounter that gives you a lot of experience, what you can do is walk right on out of Magitech Factory, walk right back on in, and just hit that encounter again over and over as many times as you want, similar to the Terrorist Switch in Sealed Gate, and also similar to the Soldier Sprites at Doma Siege.
That is a new one to me. That just brings me to one point that I love about Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. I'm hundreds of seeds deep into this, and I still regularly learn new information about this game just due to the insane depth that it has. So that's awesome. I had no idea. Thank you for teaching me that one.
Yeah. Of course, if you want to learn, some step routes too for the vanilla speedrun, if you got a couple hundred hours to burn and want to sit down and memorize them, that's where you'll learn that type of information. But that's also one of the great things about Worlds Collide is you don't need to have thousands of hours of knowledge, or probably even more so for some of the top speedrunners, that you can just pick it up and go and be competitive almost right away.
Oh, definitely. Just learn as you go. That's honestly how I did it. So, I had a tiny bit of vanilla knowledge, but just hopping right in and playing through some seeds, you will learn a ton of information very quickly.
That was a Valiant Knife from Knuckley and Wold or Bruin Zen.
Yes, it is.
Good to know. You maybe not need that right away, but that is good to know because that is one of those pieces of equipment that will ignore defense. That's something to keep in mind when you come across the Poltergeist or whatnot. The higher defensive bosses and encounters you will come across.
Definitely. One thing I wanted to say, I know we mentioned it earlier, but I don't think we went in depth in it. This is not only a Celes start, but it is a Celes start with Shock, which is generally a fan favorite ability that is not really, it's not a part of the general Ultros League flags. It is an extremely powerful ability, full area effect, full magic power, just amazing for early game, but it does lose its effectiveness in the mid and late game. So it's important that they find more substantial offense as they go along and not rely only on Shock.
Yeah, Shock suffers from the ability that it doesn't ignore defense. It's basically Fire 3, Ice 3, Bolt 3, but it's non-elemental, and it doesn't ignore defense, and it doesn't get the split penalty when it's cast on multiple people or multiple enemies. So that in itself, when you're 1v1 versus the number 24 and you're closer to the max scaling and you bust out that Shock, it doesn't quite do as much as it was doing earlier from a percentage of the boss's HP standpoint, just because of the way magic scales off throughout the game.
Definitely, but considering this is the Moogle Cup flags, I think they likely will not have much of a problem finding enough offense to replace Shock by the 30-minute mark or so, I would assume.
It looks like Sabre Wolf is going back for his ribbon here. He should have plenty to get it. Yep, yeah, he does. He's got plenty there to get it on. I wonder what else he's getting here, because he's going a little bit over the ribbon cost.
I wonder if they are keeping it in mind that the Coliseum is 100% visible. Because trying to do that right now early would be fantastic before scaling gets too crazy.
Yeah, especially when you haven't learned any spells, because Shock can be chosen as an ability when your character is berserked or uncontrollable. And with at least some earrings, a few levels, Shock will pretty much one-shot anything at this point in the game.
Definitely. Looks like KunckleyKong is doing the grind fight in Vector here before going into Magitech Factory. So this is also a grind fight I regularly forget about because
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually done it on purpose.
Very lucrative robot fight there for him too as well.
Yeah, that's
He
huge.
should get about 20 experience a rabbit, so.
Well, maybe not as much as I thought. I actually thought it was a little bit more of a valuable fight than that. I usually expect that World of Ruin enemies in general tend to pay out pretty well, even if they are rabbits or rats.
Yeah, pretty much anything in Worlds Collide that you fight that you come across around the time of Floating Continent. And then between the time of Floating Continent and then after the time of when you just have control of Celeste and Saban, and then get control of a third or fourth character, is a very lucrative fight. But everything outside of that school, which is about 60% of the fights, I would personally tend to ignore. And those robots are kind of one of them. But Knuckles not going to be deterred. He's going to persevere on and see what's on down here in the Magitech Factory for him. A little bit of a homecoming here for Celeste for him to come on down here.
Alternatively, Sabre Wolf showing up with Harpy Eye, which is a fantastic check. That one, really, really good grind fight as well. And also, if Rage happened to be something that they had in this, that would also be a fantastic Rage they could use.
Oh no, this is on the flip end of the spectrum. Some level 90 magic coming out of Sabre Wolf. Let's just get on out of there. Yep, Sabre Wolf runs away. He's going to get back everything he lost from that W win. And I think he's going to boil on out of there. Yeah, once you come across one fight like that in an area, you go ahead and get on out of there so you're not wasting your time running into multiple. And as you can see right outside, ooh, this is a very good fight. This is almost a break the flame shield fight.
This is a wonderful fight for experience. KunckleyKong shows up with Ghost Train, which is a great start, but he thankfully avoided the Evil Toot there. I didn't see anything happen, so does he actually have a ribbon?
I think he just had sap inflicted because he immediately took 3 damage after. So a little point there I want to point out for Knuckly and possibly for future fights is that we have a undead boss flag where we revert the status of undead bosses in Worlds Collide so they cannot be Phoenix Downs. But in this flag set, in the Moogle Cup flag set, which is what this is based off of, that flag is turned back off. So he could have Phoenix Down that Phantom Tray there and just one-shot it. And there are a couple other bosses in the game that he will come across. Our runners will have the ability to do that with, such as Haydn, for example. How is he?
Absolutely. I did see something very interesting on that Esper that Celes got, or that KnucklyKong got. He got, the first Esper he has is with Berserk. So that effectively negates Magimaster once he's able to learn that.
Yep. Yes, indeed. With that in mind, you don't have to worry about that big scary guy anymore. Plus, it has strength +1. Plus, Knuckly has an Atma weapon. So while Atma weapon isn't very viable now, it will be very much viable later on. Hopefully, he can find an offering to pair with that.
Absolutely, especially with that experience egg. And by the way, Nobody War, thank you so much for that raid. We appreciate you. Another thing I saw also on KnucklyKong's side, he does have a ribbon equipped, so he must have had multiples. But Sabre Wolf is going to the Opera. I believe that grants him a free Illumina. Is that correct?
It gets him a high tier weapon, which could be an Illumina. In this flag set, the rewards per premium are premium for doing checks and dragons and the such. So it could be an Illumina, it could be a Valiant Knife, it could be a Ragnarok, or it could be an Atma weapon.
All of which very well welcome. Did Sabre Wolf pick up that Valiant Knife?
I don't think he saw it. That was KnucklyKong, who was in World of Ruin Zen and came across it. I think Sabre Wolf was in the restored version of Zen, not the remastered, which Kefka did a little rearranging of the furniture.
Got it. Well, I still do appreciate a good opera house scene. So, you know, if for nothing else, this is for the fans. And getting the high tier item is great, and it puts him in the same place that he can go ahead and do Celes' check at the opera house for some grind fights as well. So I think this is a good move.
KnucklyKong found an Esper with strength +1 again, but this one has life 3. Life 3 is a nice little failsafe that you can use in some of the tougher fights because you don't have the ability to pick yourself up. You can just have your own character pick themselves up with life 3.
That's true, but I can foresee that being pretty sketchy overall because of the fact that you revive with such low life. So you better hope you're fast enough to get an ability, to get a turn and heal yourself up before you're taken back out. It does look like KunckleyKong is also swapping out his shields mid-battle, which I like to see, so able to learn multiple spells as he's doing these grind fights.
Yeah, and it's also a great idea to have that in mind when you come across, another boss. Like when Knuckly will come across a poltergeist or a goddess. Goddess will use some spells that are lightning and water based. So you really don't want to be sitting there with a flame shield with a clean sweep or aqua weight come out at you because it will do a damage boost if to a wearer with a flame shield. So good heads up play there, and hopefully he continues that as he goes on. Oh, this is a scary fight for Knuckly. These little guys look innocent, but they're actually very scary.
That's going to be a lot of halved levels back to back, isn't it?
Yep. And Skybase can do some pretty nasty counterattacks, including one that makes one character famous. Let's see what he wants to do here. Yep.
Ooh, I think... Okay, all right.
Oh, nice.
He survived it. That's always nerve-wracking when you're not...
I'm not going to jinx it, but there is one other thing Skybase likes to do from time to time that... kind of looks like a basketball. Oh, but he avoids it.
He does, and I do see the Schwantz making a note of it in chat, but I'm not going to voice it out loud. We're going to hope for the best for KunckleyKong here.
Voice it out because we have to do this fight one more time.
I would frankly get out of here.
Let's see if Knuckles given the ability to do so.
No, he's going to roll with it.
He passes one math test. Let's see if he can pass maybe a few more.
I think he might kill them all with this shock. I don't think he got leveled down quite as much. Yeah, it should do it.
No,
right?
that Skybase is going to live. Ooh. Oh, no.
Oh,
no. Oh, no.
Oh,
Red alert.
no.
Red alert.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Well, good. We did get a little peek there into what the type of emulator Knuckly uses, at least, to see that reset menu. So, little inside knowledge on the players there.
Good old RetroArch. Oh, that is very unfortunate. I didn't see any smoke bombs in his inventory either, so that makes it a little difficult to get out of there quickly. I didn't see warp stones either, I don't believe.
He should have... Knuckly will have some warp stones because in these flags we start with some, but there's nothing that a good hope and a prayer that can't get Knuckly through this. Let's get through this first fight and see if he's bold enough, brave enough to go through those again. Ooh, Sabre Wolf gets an Illumina for his Opera House appearance. That's very nice.
Shout out to Pepperoni too. Celes could not dunk, and so got dunked on by the basketball of death.
I do want to point out that Sabre Wolf now has a Cat Hood and an Illumina. I think he has a Genji shield too, but if he throws that Genji shield on instead of an elemental shield, but I don't think he will. But if he can throw that on, he will get virtually unhittable, except for a very, very, very small chance because of his physical evasion.
Absolutely, and if they find an Illumina as well... Ooh, actually, I just wanted to mention there, Sabre Wolf almost doing what many of us have done many times before, and forgetting to talk to Impresario before heading on up to continue the Opera House check. Thankfully, he remembered just in time.
Oh no, Knuckly. Okay, we're good.
Okay, yeah, we're out of there. Good. One time is more than enough, but that definitely shows it puts to the forefront the dangers of doing a solo run, and that one single attack could just straight up take you out of the game,
Yeah, unfortunately for Knuckly, the scariest part is over, and there's absolutely no way whatsoever this could be a tough boss to follow all that up.
Of course not. Sabre Wolf with some Apocryphos in the Opera House, which is that's a pretty chunky grind fight.
Yeah, that's a great grind fight. That is a floating continent grind fight there, and go down with one shot. Give 1200 XP. I do that every time.
And the bosses have been quite nice in the Magitech Factory. I know we had to deal with Blaster there, but the bosses have been quite gentle. With Kefka here, no big deal. Just gotta hope that we finish up Magitech Factory with one last decent boss.
A double Brontor also in the Opera House.
Celes literally does not care right now. Just shock all day. Kind of shocked he didn't decide to potion there, actually, before starting the boss. It's a bit risky after getting that many experience fights. Probably quite low on life.
Yeah, maybe a little low on HP, but quite high on that dog on him. And Sabre Wolf not going to be deterred. He's going to keep on rolling on.
Let's see
So,
who he is graced with as his boss. Ooh, that is
ooh.
not the best thing that's not what you want to see right now. Thankfully, he is probably the least threatening of the three bosses. He does have an Illumina right now, so a good proc will do plenty of damage. He also put on an ice shield, which I love to see. Any ice attacks now that Doom does, he will absorb. It looks like he's fishing for procs now, which I think is a good idea, but I think I would have considered taking that fire shield and throwing it right in his face.
Oh yeah,
What do you
I definitely would have kept swinging the Illumina because in the second half of this Doom fight, Doom grants himself Reflect in the image status. Actually, I take that back. Shock goes through Reflect. I was thinking for some reason it will get brought the back in Sabre Wolf's face, but I'm mistaken. Shock away, my friend.
That is true, and as long as he can finish it off before Demon Rage starts, which he absolutely did, he's good to go. Yeah, Doom tends to be... He's more annoying than anything. He has some abilities that can definitely cause a lot of issues. We saw him do North Cross there, which could freeze Celes, but I believe you can't be frozen with an Ice Shield. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
So him putting on that Ice Shield definitely made that clutch, because getting North Cross could just end the fight when you're solo.
Great heads up play there from Knuckly. Fortunately, it misses. The second half of this fight acceptably leads to death, which is Knuckly is trying to exploit. Crusader is Sabre Wolf's reward for completing the Opera Disruption check.
One thing
And he
we
is now.
saw... Oh, go ahead, continue.
Nope, he is just on his way to Magitech Factory, which is where Knuckly is wrapping up.
Definitely. He did all his looting, all his shopping and everything. He's ready to put the foot on the gas and not let it up. The Schwantz did make an interesting comment in the chat, and that KunckleyKong did do a bit of a grind fight to get himself off level 15, which is a fantastic idea. Just in case old Doom Gaze decided to show up.
Yeah. With his new Shadow in tow, let's see where Knuckly is going to go off to. He's going to go cash in Shadow's one free check up here at Gal Manor. Ooh, and it is Strago. So, Wardle checks open to Knuckly now. A lot of options on the table.
Unfortunately, most of them are not ideal, so to speak, but not too bad. At least there's plenty of options, good routing choices in terms of maybe going to Fanatic's Tower to get another high tier item, a dragon, things like that. But you can't use Shock in Fanatic's Tower, so we're probably going to want some better magic before we consider that location.
Yeah, we just have tier 2 spells at the moment. I will say, though, that it doesn't really matter what the options are because there's such a good chance that eventually you're going to come across a character. Looks like Knuckly's going up to Floating Continent anyways. So he's going to fade that Strago stuff and just do Shadow stuff, get it out the way. I like this play because doing Shadow stuff because Strago generally has the worst checks in the game. And two of Strago's checks can be accessed basically in the same spot. They kind of feed into each other almost. And that you can also pair one of Shadow's checks, his Cave on the Veldt, in which you instantly warp down to Thamasa, which is where two of Strago's checks live. So you can kind of piggyback that, save that travel time, save quite a bit of time actually if you just go this route, finish all his Shadow's checks, and then piggyback, loop into Strago's checks when you finish with those.
That's very true. You know, you'll also be at Burning House, but as soon as you're done with Burning House, you're literally right next door to Abbott. So it does save that travel time, like you mentioned. I do like the Floating Continent choice as well, due to the guaranteed progression. As soon as you land on the continent, you get guaranteed Esper character. As soon as you jump off the continent, you're guaranteed a character or an Esper. And in the middle, you can get an Esper or an item. So it's a bit long, but the grind fights in the beginning, the guaranteed progression make it quite appealing, especially early.
Oh yeah, Ghost Train, no problem, Sabre with, but he also did. You know, it's like the runners aren't aware of that the undead boss flag is off, or maybe they are aware. They're just, I'm so powerful anyways. Let's just get this over with.
That's true. It saves a lot of menu time if you don't have to go fishing for a Phoenix down when you just hit Shock and call it a day.
Yeah, I think we'll see that more so if we come across whatchamacallit, Haydn later on in the seed, because we definitely won't be one-shotting that guy.
Absolutely not. Any of the chunky bosses, you get Guardian or Funbaba or anything like that, you'll have to spend a little bit more time. But Haidon, you can actually Phoenix down. Is that right?
Yep, if you Phoenix down the main guy in the vanilla game, the fight is over, and you can actually do it a couple times if you want in your attempts to get Grand Train. Just get him to cast it, and then Phoenix down him, and it's over.
That is true. If you're trying to get the vanilla blue mage strats, pick that up for your lores, because that's the best lore in the game, I believe. Correct?
Yep, it is the highest. Well, depends on your thoughts on about
Damage dealing capability, anyway.
Yeah, about Big Guard, because Big Guard essentially puts marble shoes on your characters, which is fantastic.
Whirlwind is great too. Like, I can't argue with a good Whirlwind. It's just it's basically Mantra without the reduction, the removal of status effects, but it's just really good as a clutch healing, especially if you have it on like a VK user or something. Need a full heal, you're automatically there.
All right, Chatternook is at the Air Force spot for Knuckley. Sabre Wolf is working his way, reacquainting himself with Sid. He's working his way to the Magitech factory. He's going to ride the elevator on down to the minecart section. What would be your move here? We got some choices here. Physics. What would be your move here? What are you thinking about your long term build with what Knuckley and Sabre Wolf have found so far? What is your prognosis for how the rest of the seed is going to go?
I mean, we have an Atma weapon. If we can track down a offering looking for Katana Soul, we're getting ready to go to the Floating Continent. We have a chance of finding him here. Just that Atma offering can sort of send your offense through the roof for pretty much the rest of the game. If you can get a Genji as well, that can really help just to increase your defense with Illuminas. Mm-hmm. So if you can get maybe 2 Illuminas with a Genji, that could be really good. But we already see Minervas, we see Cat Hoods, we see Elemental Shields. We have a lot of amazing defense. So really what we'd be looking for is offense right now. Either I think a Genji, double Illuminas, or rocking maybe an Octo Atma to really chew through the last bosses quickly. Could be some good options.
With what we found, we've really shaped ourselves up for future success and immediate success with Shock in our earrings and the Experience Egg. The Atma weapon, physical damage, and just in general in Worlds Collide and Final Fantasy VI is so level dependent. You can have a character with great stats, but the levels get multiplied actually twice into the damage formula for the fight command. So as your levels grow, your damage that you do with the fight command grows with them. So an Atma weapon is kind of useless to us at level 17, unless we're fighting a Cactrack or some other random use case scenarios. But once it comes up later on, we'll be able to transition off of Shock. We won't have to worry about having an earring on our party members anymore. And then we can just start wielding that Atma weapon, and where damage will escalate very fast with that Experience Egg.
Definitely. And one thing I actually saw on KunckleyKong's side, he did not check the monster in a box. So I'm not so sure he's on the hunt for a Katana Soul right now. So he must have a different idea for offense in mind. Maybe just sticking with that Illumina.
No, he may say Illumina is good enough for him and say no bueno on everything else. And most of the time, that's not a bad idea. But again, in the solo character challenge, you do need to have a little flexibility in your builds, because there are some bosses that Illumina does not go well against.
Definitely, and even if he doesn't have an offering right away, just being high level with a single swing Atma can be more than enough to get you through bosses that really need you to cut through physical defense, like Magimaster, or maybe Rex Soul, something like that you really just need that defense shredding. You could just equip it and single swing it, and speaking of which, Rex Soul shows right up.
This is probably a great case scenario where you maybe want to crack that Flame Shield, because Shock isn't going to do as much as you think it will because of the high magic defense that Rex Soul has. As you see right there, we're only doing 450 damage, so you need some way to get to this fight quickly to pierce its high magic defense.
And that is a good point, because cracking rods or cracking shields would pierce through the magic defense that he has and really take him out quickly.
Yep, he is weak to ice, which you are seeing Knuckley exploit there with ice too. But again, because of that high magic defense, despite Knuckly being very powerful with his levels, it's not going to do much. Looks like he has the Atma weapon on, so he's just going to row up and then start swinging. And I think that's the correct move here because he's going to do more damage doing that. Yep.
I agree. He's gotten so many levels with the multiple grind fights in Magitech Factory, all the bosses he's killed. He's gotten some chunky bosses as well that he got to kill, like the Behemoth. And with that experience egg, he's already ready to start swinging that.
Sabre Wolf is done with his Magitech Factory and his minecart ride. He did not run into the trap of the Sky Base. He didn't get blasted or level 5 Doom, but he was able to get through both of them. So good on him. He's got his Strago, so let's see where he goes next.
And it can seem like Sabre Wolf is a little bit behind here, but he did do the Opera House, which that is a trade-off that you make. Quick interruption. I see a Valiant Knife was just found on KunckleyKong's side, so that can be a really good find. And again, offering is very much on the table here if you can find it.
Looks like Sabre Wolf has decided it's time to buy the Zen Thief and whatever that holds. That's a good time here too because you just did all those fixed encounters. You got a little bit of gold under your belt. There's no point in holding on to it. No point in holding on to those all those aura lances. Just sell them and buy the Esper or item and move on.
Okay, Siren, that is quite a good Esper to have. Good mute for Tier 2 Kefka, which I think would be especially important in solo Celes or solo character.
Yes, indeed. And Life 2, a very, very foundational spell you want to see on a solo character challenge right there, I tell you what.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely clutch, you know.
Ooh, if we see that... Ooh, this is another scary fight here for Knuckly. Knuckly is finding all of the rough fights for Sabre Wolf beforehand and testing them out.
Yeah, it's a pretty gross one. Just a matter of what they decide to do on him. But they have a lot of life. This might freeze. Yeah, so that's super unfortunate. He doesn't get to do anything until he unfreezes.
Yeah, Knuckly is at that weird part of Floating Continent where he hasn't saved in a while. And as you can see, Fortis is throwing out some fractional damage, so all of Knuckly's great equipment there won't matter. This is the danger zone for Knuckly.
Ooh, he thawed him out.
Forrest did him a solid.
What a gentleman.
Yeah, who said Knuckly was solo in this? He's got teammates, he just doesn't know where they are.
Yeah, he's like, sorry, dude, I didn't realize you were doing this on your own. Let me thaw you out real quick.
Yeah, let's see what is at the end of Floating Continent for Knuckly. He may gonna take a little break here to heal. Yeah, that's a smart play because you're so invested at this point in time. If you wipe here, it's a huge time waste. Oh no, and it's Goddess.
Ooh. This is extremely dangerous because of the fact Goddess really, really likes to cash Love Token if you're going to solo attack her. So what do you think? Maybe it would be worth it to, use that Atma weapon until she Love Tokens you, then finish it up with Shock? Well, there it is.
Fortunately, decision made. We can do it one time.
I'm thinking packing a shield here is huge too.
Yeah, that Ice Shield we didn't use on Rexel would be huge to go here, or with the Flame Shield. Fire 2 isn't going to do much, but we'll see what if she blesses us with a Bolt 2 or Giga Bolt or a Bolt 3. Oh, no, looks like I think Knuckly has the Minerva, so he should be pretty safe here.
Yeah, they looted a Minerva, so really Elemental is no problem at all. So what's the worst thing that she could do? Overcast?
Overcast doesn't do anything bad to Knuckly here unless his controller dies. As it will take a while for that timer to go down. That's
true, and yeah, it turns out not much of an issue at all here. That Minerva thankfully made that a much safer fight.
Yes, indeed. Sabre Wolf dealing with the Stooges, but one's already down, the most important one, so no trouble here for him.
Yeah, good old Stooges. You always have to take out that top one first because he likes to revive the other ones who fall, and the one in blue there can be instant deathed as well. So, couple things to keep in mind in that particular fight. But they can be pretty gross with their counters. They can really spiral out of control sometimes if they want to be particularly spicy.
Yeah, they do have some attacks at this point in time that can do fractional damage. No character here, so let's see where Knuckly goes. Cave on the belt. I think Knuckly's going to parlay his instant warp. after this check and just some Strago checks. Unless, of course, he finds another character here that he'd rather do those checks for.
Definitely.
Really?
This definitely feels like the move, and he hasn't done the Opera House either yet, but I don't think he's intending to go there at all unless he has to.
Yes, indeed. And I would expect if Knuckly finds any character pretty much but Go-Go, I expect him to pivot out of this and go on somewhere else in his search for character number 4, 5, and 6.
Almost certainly. Worlds Collide players are always looking for a reason to fade Strago checks, so he's really crossed his fingers here that he finds something.
All right. You think KunckleyKong's going to take this monster in a box? He passed up on the one on Floating Continent. For all we know, could behold the offering, but maybe he just didn't. Up.
I was gonna say. I mean, I have to think that he's got to be going for these offerings because of how valuable it is with the fact he has Atma and VK right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, he's found some pugs and he's going to shock them. This is just a huge time waste.
Yeah, they're all going to counterattack. Is that right?
Yeah, they're all just going to sit there and try to tickle you to death at this point in time. Even if they do die, they have a long little animation. Annoying animation, but I think one more shock should do this for Knuckly.
Yeah, I don't know about this particular move. He's already got a Minerva. They don't give any experience. I think they give some MP, though, right? Or nothing. A little bit of magic points, so that's something at the very least, but definitely didn't need to take the time to fight them.
This is a pivotal moment because if Sabre Wolf checks his monster in a box, and that is the offering, take that back. Pivotal moment passed. But that would have been a huge boon because we're going to find here that our runners are no longer really any danger of dying, unless it's by an instant death attack because they are going to outgrow the scaling. They're just going to get incredibly powerful and not have much trouble until the final fight. So with that in mind, it becomes less important how we take care of bosses and if we can, to more how quickly can we take down bosses. And really the fastest thing you can do is an offering that just does 4,9999 swings, and that's eventually what we would end up doing if we were to find the offering with that Atma weapon. So if it was in that, that would have been a huge boon for Sabre Wolf if he comes across that offering now because he's eventually following in Knuckly's footsteps. But that would allow him to follow through Knuckly's footsteps a lot faster later on.
Absolutely. It looks like KunckleyKong's wishes have come true. He does have to get through an Atma first, but it was Cyan that he gets. So that is huge. Going to Doma Dream, you have a dragon over in World of Ruin Zozo. You have a very quick check at Doma Siege. So really desirable checks with Cyan. And for those who might not know, I did want to mention, I know we're talking about Katana Soul a lot. There are a certain amount of monsters in a box in Worlds Collide. There's all the different monsters that are in the boxes in Vanilla Game have been shuffled between each other. And the one we're really looking for is Katana Soul. If you kill him, you get something like 32,000 gil, but that's not what we're really excited about. It's the offering that we're excited about, which turns your single attack into 4 half damage attacks, which can be huge with certain weapons in this game.
Yeah, there are 11 total monster in a boxes in Worlds Collide. Shadow gives you access to 2, his Floating Continent, the one in the Cave in the Belt. And we by default have access to the 1 in the Narsh Beginner House. The other 8 are all behind certain characters that we need to get to them. And it's a good chance. Oh, that I show up for Knuckly there. That's nice. And there's a good chance we come across some of those characters, but again, if we decide to start searching for it later on, and it was up at Floating Continent all along, we're just wasting our time unless we find a high XP one like Gigantos.
Definitely, and in a solo challenge, like as you said, you're really trying to think of how fast can you get through bosses because a dead boss can't do any damage. So I think that should be the number one priority. And honestly, I think now or around this time would be a great time to go check the auction house. Not the auction house, apologies, the Coliseum. Because if there's an offering there, you're set. The sooner you go get that, the better.
Yeah, looks like Knuckly passed on his Valiant Knife. I think he's going to go right into Strago's checks here. Cyan's checks here. Yep. That is what he's doing. Now, there is a chance we get an offering from killing a dragon or as a high tier item reward because offering Genji Gloves and experience eggs are part of the premium item pool. So even though we didn't get in a monster box, there is a chance we stumble across one at some point in time from just a check reward in general.
Yeah, and coming into this check does have a dragon, so there is the possibility of finding one from that dragon. Not to mention just the sheer amount of experience and magic points you get for killing it. And Sabre Wolf is getting the same treatment from Goddess that KunckleyKong got, as in you hit Goddess once and she chooses to love token you. That is a percentage chance that she decides to do that. It just so happened she wanted nothing to do with that Atma weapon after tasting it one time. So they just get to go through shock or shields or any other way to damage her.
Yeah, but with having shock here, as we mentioned, it's non-elemental, so it's going to not factor into the fact that Goddess absorbs holy or absorbs lightning. It's going to damage her regardless, and Sabre was already done with this fight.
Definitely. We did see one of the sort of meme attacks in this game, and that would be Wump. Just she throws a bunch of rodents at you and does more than half of her life in one hit. So it's something you think is a joke until it hits you for 2,000 damage at the end of the game, and you realize it is no joke at all.
No joke indeed. Blue Dragon up here for KunckleyKong. Blue Dragon is generally a scary dragon, but when you have a Minerva, nothing is scary as far as dragon point of view. So no trouble here for Knuckley.
Definitely. Just negating all magic damage. You really don't have to worry about most dragons at all, unless you're dealing with maybe Dirt Dragon with some Earthquake. That could cause some serious issues. I'm not sure, is Pearl negated or no?
By Minerva?
Yeah.
No. Let me look that up. I can't remember off my head, but I don't think it is. You know what? Let's let our resident statistician, DSchwans27, whisper that sweet knowledge into our ears. I think it halves it. I think it halves everything but poison. Poison it just doesn't do anything for. Great news. Knuckley is found yet tomorrow. The seed is over. We have a winner. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to KunckleyKong. He is your winner tonight.
It's great that KunckleyKong's the first one to find him. It feels like divine fate there.
Yeah, so to answer your question, it is Minerva nullifies fire, ice, lightning, and wind, and it does 50% damage for earth, water, poison, and pearl. So that's the other four. So it doesn't negate pearl, it just does the damage in half for that.
Understood. We got the confirmation from the Schwantz that it will negate elemental damage, but Pearl, Poison, other types of magic will be halved instead. So Pearl would at least be halved, just not negated. And I was actually unsure if the Schwantz was on stream or just in our ears, so if you heard that twice, well, doubled up.
Yeah, Cyan has been unearthed for Sabre Wolf. KunckleyKong is cashing in on his Yamaro play and going to the home of the Yeti to try to hopefully find another character.
Is he in World of Balance, though? It looks like he might be going for Kefka and Arsh.
Knuckley? No, he's in World of Ruin. If it has a little bit of an overcast, yeah, that's the World of
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, the little dark clouds from when the continent fell and smashed everything.
I did miss the little fog clouds there, so.
Yeah, there's the air quality index today is a little bit low on Knuckley's screen, but
Can't imagine why. You know, I didn't really think that giant lasers, you know, cutting the Earth in half would cause such bad smog issues.
I don't know. Everything history told me is that a continent that is like 3% the size of the entire planet smashing into it would kill everybody. But unfortunately, in this game, it just, kind of ruins the economy, makes some people leave town a little bit. Doesn't quite have the catastrophic effect if you think it would.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad situation for KnuckleyKong right now.
Yes,
he
indeed.
is confused. So, and I don't know that Skull Dragon does a whole lot to knock her out of confuse.
Oh no, KnuckleyKong's greatest threat right now is himself.
Yeah, this isn't good, and magic damage is not going to break Muddle. So she needs to hit herself with the Atma, and she did. Perfect. Thankfully, They had already been damaged, so didn't have to worry about a full damage. Oh,
Oh
no, here we go
no. No.
again.
So good news is he can survive one more shock after this, but not not
Oh my
much more.
goodness.
The condemn counter shouldn't be much of a factor here. All right, he is
Okay,
out of it, but he's in the danger zone.
third time's the
So,
charm.
oh no.
Oh no. Skull Dragon says he is sick of people taking advantage of him and treating him like a joke.
At least the
Yeah,
weapon that is equipped, the lower the health goes from the self-shock, the less damage he'll do to himself.
Yeah.
Definitely. He is tired of the Skull Dragon's crap and just throws a shield in his face to just... I don't blame him at all.
Yeah, that was a pretty hostile Skull Dragon there. I don't know what's going on, but maybe Knuckly said something about his mama.
He was having a real bad day. It was not about that life today. Looks like Sabre Wolf is going to Doma Dream and gets to enjoy Ultros and Chupon here. Unfortunately, one of the worst fights in the game. No experience, no SP, nothing.
Nothing at all, but experience shouldn't be losing the experience for 1 or 2 fights shouldn't be a huge factor here. Just a matter of it could be a huge piece of information if that Yamara was the way through the seed or the way to get through the requirements, if you will, because we're reaching that point to where we gotta start thinking about where do I want to go so I can reach my requirements, not just going where I can. Now that things have opened up quite a bit. Poltergeist on Knuckly's screen. This is a scary fight.
He just went for the throat. Like, Poltergeist went straight for the jugular, and Celes decided to completely negate it. So one thing that Poltergeist likes to do is stop blaster. So if he hits you with stop, he'll immediately blaster and kill you. Celes blocked the stop. Otherwise, this fight would be over before it began. Celes, or not Celes, but KunckleyKong got that dog in him. He says he's not playing with Poltergeist. He's going to fight him with 200 life, and he gets right through it.
Yeah.
No risk, no reward.
I don't think Knuckly was expecting this, but this was not a very friendly trip up the mountain. Back-to-back tough fights, back-to-back tough RNG.
It's kind of funny that we consider that particular dragon as a rough fight, because normally he's kind of a pushover. He's weak to Pearl and Fire. You generally have something that's going to do one of those types of damage, and you just shred through him. But man, did he show why he is not to be trifled with if the RNG is not in your favor.
Yes, indeed. Magic power +2, Ice to Esper. Yes, sir. Please and thank you. KunckleyKong is level 44, and he needs to do at least 4 more checks for his requirements. So he's going to end up in the levels north of the 50s when it's all said and done, plus possibly the 60s once he does all of his tower fights. So
he's going to be hitting real hard.
Yes, and that kind of circles back to does he check this monster in the box? Because if he can find that offering, he can hit really, really hard 4 times, but he's going to forego it.
I am consistently shocked that they are not desperately looking for that offering right now. But yeah, actually, kind of finishing up this check here, he can leave and go straight to the Coliseum. It's not very far away, and I think that might be the move. What do you think?
I think if we were to, we would go to right before Kefka's Tower just as a final stopping place to kind of round out with anything we wish we had, because we have stuff that it's good enough, but now it kind of turns into what's good enough versus what I'd rather have, right? So there, I think once you're kind of at that point where it's time to climb the tower 3 times, what would I rather have for this? Not how can I get through this? Just kind of nitpicking, if you will, at our equipment.
I got you. It seems like Shock is working quite well, and I did want to ask you one other question. What do you think about KunckleyKong switching to the +2 magic power Esper as opposed to just sticking with that +1 strength Esper?
I'm actually not opposed to it, because there will be certain times in some fights coming up to where you'll be doing magic-based abilities, and there will be some times where you are doing physical-based abilities without that offering. So if you're foregoing that offering, if we come across Merton, if we come across some more shields, we know where fire rods are. They were in, I believe, Thamasa. So we could possibly, want to break some rods in Tier 1 and Tier 2 of Final Kefka, or some other fights, just because there are so many parts to them. And they will do quite a bit of damage, and there will also be other parts where we are down to single targets, that's when we want to swing the single target Atma weapon, if you will. So we may be switching back and forth between offensive magic and various fights throughout. So I'm not opposed to it. We do need a little flexibility in the builds, as I mentioned. So no harm there.
That is true, and he was probably sitting on that +1 Esper for quite a while, so I'm sure his vigor is pretty pumped up at this point. And there is a limit to how much vigor you can actually have. What is it, 126 vigor, if I recall correctly? After that, it no longer does anything.
Yes, indeed, and that sets her at Doma Siege. Now Sabre Wolf and Knuckly are on very, very different paths.
Big time. But I think that KunckleyKong is he's not going to quite get his unlock, but he'll be very close. All he'll need to do is just zip over to Doma Siege, and he will have his unlock.
KunckleyKong is going to be at 5 and 8 after this, because this Ultros, the first Ultros tier, was a dead check for Sabre Wolf.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So he'll be 5 and 8, but Sabre Wolf just needs one more character, and if he goes to Mount Zozo or somewhere else, and some of his newfound Zetzer checks, he could have unlock here in just a matter of moments.
Yeah, Culligan is huge. I mean, this could just be a straight in, walk in, get your character, and move on, head on straight to Kefka's Tower. Let's see if it pays off for him. It does with a lock. So we got Sabre Wolf, the first unlock of Kefka's Tower. Now, when it comes to the Moogle Cup seed, the flag set, in order to get the skip, you actually need to get two different requirements. Is that right, Glue? I believe you need to have either or actually both 2 of 9 characters and 12 espers, and I think a certain amount of dragons. Is that right? Or is it checks? 22 checks.
You need
correct?
22 checks, 9 characters, or 12 espers, and you need 2 out of those 3 requirements. Schwant's asking in the chat, would it make sense for one to go to Kef Tower to clear out 1 lane here? I have a theory on that. What I would do is when I find character number 3, I would consider going straight into Kef Tower's Den and then clearing out a lane if I had some way to kind of cheese the fights. And what do I mean by that? Is it like my skilling like level 12 and I have a bunch of super balls where it is still relevant if I come across a tough fight? Because if you have 3 characters and you go into Kefka's Tower at 22 minutes, you will fight 1, 2, 3 bosses that do not increase your scaling, but they will increase your levels. So essentially what you do is you spend some time doing some boss fights, and then you have a little safeguard in case you get a tough one. You pump your levels way up. You've done some part of the game that you had to do anyways, and then that just allows you to coast further through the seed. But with where they are without their requirements, they've kind of passed that point because Knuckly's in his 50s and levels, and obviously Sabre Wolf just got his unlock.
It looks like Sabre Wolf is looking to get either some levels or he's looking to go for that 22 check skip.
Well, remember, he needs 6. He would need 3 more of either or. You're actually probably more inclined to get the 9 characters before 12 Esters because you're going to come across so many characters so fast. As you see, we found 5 characters in 54 minutes on Sabre Wolf's side because they're going to be placed in all of those character spots just so you can fill out the rest of the seed and get through all of the checks that are available.
Absolutely. I think now is probably a good time just to talk about sort of what has to happen with Kefka's Tower. Typically, you would, if you're going to run up it, usually you would have 2 characters in 1 lane and then 1 on either other if you're just going to run up one go without having to go back in or warping out and coming back in. But we're doing solo Celes here, which means we actually need to run this tower 3 times. 1 for each lane. So she's going to have to clear each lane. Clear lane, warp out, go back in, clear another lane, warp out, go back in, clear another lane, because we can't use any other characters to kill the bosses in those lanes. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that works out for them.
Sabre Wolf looked like he wanted to go perform in the opera again, but this time he's here to pick a fight with a dragon. Inferno showcasing some of his broad, robust abilities he has at his disposal, taking Knuckling down to just a few ace points left, but Knuckly is powering through. Right back in it.
Inferno is pretty well known as...
And oh no. 30 seconds have passed.
Oh no. Devastating. Inferno is one of those bosses that's known as a glass cannon. He's kind of up there with Air Force in that they have multiple points of... multiple units in the fight, so 3 each, and they can all do their own abilities. The combinations they can throw out can be absolutely devastating, but the The upside is that they both have quite low HP overall, no matter what the scaling is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have enough power, you can essentially 1 or 2 shot him, as opposed to having to take as long as we needed to that time. And as you said, if it's 30 seconds at the start of the fight, if all the parts are still up, you will be turned to stone.
I think Sabre Wolf forgot to do the lock check while he was at Nar, so he's going back to do it.
Stella said
Yep.
cracking a shield is more than fine as well, so he's just going to do that and negate the whole issue entirely.
All right, that's character number 10, or excuse me, Esper number 10 for Sabre Wolf. He could, if he wanted to go out there and find 2 more Espers, that he would be in the range of that skip, or it's an option. Now with that, having just needing 2 more, I guess that's what he's doing. He's just going to head on through it and do it no matter what. Because he is doing some Esper only checks here, and I think that's his game plan.
Now, one important thing to keep in mind here is that you can only use the skip 1 time.
Yes, indeed.
So it'll save you 1 run up, but I don't really think that the time save is worth hunting the skip right here. What do you think?
I think it is if you go boom, boom, boom on your 3 Espers back to back. If you turn this into a 5 or 6 check skip search, then no, it is not worth it. Because keep in mind too, you got to do the 1 lane, the far right lane with Celeste, because you can't have a level 3 Strago walk through that Guardian spot through that fight. You have to do it with Celeste. And that lane is going to take you a little bit of time, but you can skip on through one of the other lanes once you've worked your way through that one.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think I would be fishing for the skip here, strictly because of the fact it's only going to save about 2 minutes just for the raw run up.
Definitely.
And only the single 1 raw run up,
And generally, the case for doing it in a situation like this is that all the levels your party will benefit from it. But your party's going to fight 5 more bosses in the tower anyways, so you're going to end up economically over-leveled. Plus, you've been sitting on Experience Egg. Plus, there's actually a case, well, we have a Minerva, but there is a case that you don't want to be level 65 when you fight some bosses because of Flare Star. Because then Flare Star will one-shot you if you can't ignore it. But we do have a Minerva, so that's not an issue. But nevertheless, I think Sabre Wolf is forgetting here that he is about to fight so many bosses just because he has to clear the statues 3 times with the same character. So he's going to get those levels regardless.
Yeah, definitely. And this is going to give KunckleyKong a bit of time to catch up here. I see that he is, for the fans, I assume, going through the Opera House a little bit later. He went ahead and staggered it for us, so we didn't get him at the same time. And yeah, we'll just have to see if that gives KunckleyKong a chance to catch up here. He's still 1 character short, but we know that all he has to do is go to Doma Siege and he's ready to go.
Looks like Sabre Wolf just wants this. I believe was Yumaro, which is kind of a kick in the shin for Sabre Wolf, because he went up there, he did the World of Ruin Ice Dragon, and then he didn't bother with Tritalk, he warped out. So this is going to be kind of a kick in the shin because it's Yumaro, so he has to go backtrack again. So that would be his 3rd trip, actually his 4th trip to World of Ruin Arch, because he went there at the beginning of the game to grind for levels. And it's just not a real good feeling when you go to the same spot 4 times in a run through.
Absolutely, and I think especially if I were to see Umaro at this point, I'd be like, wow, there's no way I'm going to climb back up there. Just for the potential of 2 Espers. But it still leads me to think that maybe he wasn't looking for Espers if he didn't go for the Tritalk spot.
That is true. He could have just been, again, wanting to kill the dragons, because the dragons are a great source of experience. But there are also 2 dragons in Kefka's Tower we're going to walk past anyway, so...
Yeah, so maybe he's just fishing for as many levels as he can get. If there's a dragon there, he's just going for the dragon. He just wants to be as safe as possible for Kefka. But like you said, you don't want to be up to 65. You want to be 64 or 66, but you don't want to be 65 because we haven't seen He Who Shall Not Be Named in this seed just yet.
Mm-hmm. Knuckley is putting the bow on his amazing performance. Sabre Wolf is introducing himself to Yamara, welcome him into the party, or actually to the bench, excuse me. So Sabre Wolf has had the requirements for about 10 minutes now. Still no tower trip. Let's see where he's going next. Back to the menu, it looks like. Again, we haven't seen any other runners go to the Coliseum, so that's possibly
eager.
Yeah,
I'm eager to see it.
I just want to know now because I'm sure, like, maybe I'm pretty sure at this point in time, if nobody goes, that it's like a tonic for an offering, and then an echo screen for an Illumina or something comical, and that's because nobody's going, so that's the way it's going to be.
Definitely, and we're not even going to get an answer to our question. Even if they don't fight, at least just go, just so that we can see it and know what's going on. You know, the suspense is killing me. Looks like Sabre Wolf has actually put Celes on the left.
That is a mistake because I think that was Cyan or Locke on the right. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Who is he going to sacrifice unwittingly? Yep, he's going to send Cyan.
Poor Cyan doesn't even know what's coming.
Cyan's walking into a wood chipper, and unfortunately he doesn't know it.
And I don't know if he saved after. I'm hoping he saved after he did the Opera House Dragon. He's considering the skip here. I think he was going for the 22 check skip. Yeah.
That's what it was.
He was hoping for the 22 check skip and realized he needs 2 of them. And that just during the Ultros League, which is our standard race flag set, in order to get the skip, you only need to get 1 of those conditions. However, this is one of our Moogle Cup flag sets, which is for our newer runners. And in an effort to encourage them to run Kefka's Tower, to learn the routing, understand how to prepare for it, and all the other good things that come up with it, we want them to run the tower more often than they don't run the tower. But in the off chance that they happen to get the skip and have 2 of those conditions before their unlock, you know, they can enjoy their skip. But we do want them to be practicing running this tower, because sometimes you got to do it whether you want to or not. And old Sabre Wolf here is an Ultros League runner and was not necessarily familiar with the skip requirements.
Sabre Wolf in the ratio making a comment that he was confused about the flags. He's about to be really confused here if he doesn't grab that hook. Oh no, grab the hook, oh no!
Oh no, he's doing it.
Oh no, Cyan.
Oh no.
Turn around, Cyan. You don't want to do what you're about to do, Cyan.
Oh no, this is kind of like a train wreck here. Just knowing what's coming, but we can't look away.
Yeah, you think he's gonna save?
Maybe he'll get here and be like, oh wait, this is the Inferno spot.
Okay,
I can't do this.
I think he's realizing it now.
It looks like it. But Celes can't do anything from this position, so he basically has to hook or warp out and reform. Oh, he's gonna do the straight reset. Got it.
But unless he saved before he came into the tower, because then he's just resetting to where his Cyan was, he could just warp out.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he didn't just warp out. Okay, no, he'll be fine.
Okay, we're good.
At least you found out before old Samurai Dad, as Chadius says there. At least you found out before he got cremated by whatever boss is lurking there.
All right, Cyan in the middle where it's nice, safe, and nobody jumps on him, and then Celes over on the right. Ooh, KunckleyKong picking up a Genji glove. We may see some interesting plays here later on with some swords there.
Definitely. I know we have a Ragnarok, we have an Illumina, we have an Atma. So maybe some Atma Rag strats could be on the table here. And there's one thing that that I used recently that I found was very effective, especially in Kefka, in that you can equip the Genji glove and not have 2 weapons. So you can prepare for certain eventualities in the Kefka fight by having a Genji and maybe a shield for the first 2 phases so that you can absorb a lot of elements, and then maybe switch to your double weapons when you have to do a lot of damage to sleep to break that damage cap and not have to worry about getting medioed down. So that could be an option.
That could be an option indeed. And I just want to point out that, as we mentioned earlier, we haven't seen a lot of the scarier bosses. We did see Poltergeist on Knuckles' screen. We did see a very hostile Skull Dragon as well, but Skull Dragon isn't typically what you would consider a scary boss.
We have seen all 3 statues so far. They're all out of the table, at least.
That is true. So we have 2 really big ones left. We have a Magimaster, we have a Doomgaze. So what do you want to do here, Physics? Do you want to try to will one of them into existence? What's the game plan here?
I mean, if we were going to will anyone into existence, it would just have to be, old level 5 Doom Boy. But, because Magimaster is not an issue right now. We have Berserk. He's going to be a complete pushover, and we're gonna murk him down in 2 hits, 2 or 3 hits. So, if we're trying to curse him, we might as well go all the way, right?
Yes, indeed. So Sabre Wolf is level 54. He could potentially be pushed up to level 55 after this fight. And that would put him in the danger zone for the Guardian spot if that's you-know-who. Yeah,
and she
Celeste gained a level. What's he going to do?
He's going with it.
No save, so...
Big risk. So the boss we were referring to, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'll take the blame, all right? We're talking about Doomgaze here. Normally, in vanilla, he's just flying around the world map, and he'll just run into you while you're flying around. The thing that is the problem with him is that he starts out every fight. Number 1 thing he does before you ever get to act is level 5 Doom. If your level is a multiple of 5, you die instantly. So, he's a single Celeste right now at level 55. If Doomgaze is encountered, it is an instant death. He also didn't save after beating Vargas, so if that happens on the next boss in the Guardian spot, unfortunately that is a straight wipe, and I have to start all over.
Oh no, Knuckly did the same thing, but Knuckly realized it a little bit faster, so...
That's okay. At least he found out, or he realized the mistake before it became too much of an issue.
Yep, he navigated... RetroArch is a nice emulator, by the way. I use SNES 9X, but I'm going to keep that in mind for the future. Knuckles given a little nice RetroArch showcase. I like it.
Definitely. I'm actually thinking about using that one strictly because you don't have to do the Lua scripting every single time. You can have it saved, so the Lua is automatically loaded when you pull up Retro. So that's something I might consider doing.
All right.
If I have to reset, I just I have my hotkey for F12. So if I have an issue, I just smash F12 and it's an instant reset on SNES 9X.
Weights are on the switches. Cyan is about to step on his switch. Big moment here for Sabre Wolf. Is this Doomgaze? We can only hope and pray that it isn't. Or do we hope it is?
He tends to show up at the worst possible moment when you haven't been checking your levels. So let's see what happens. Okay, it's the less damaging one. Again, he has Minerva on, so the element isn't going to do any damage to him. Magimaster is horribly susceptible to Berserk. When it comes to him in general, what happens is the first attack you do, he has no defenses against, really. You can do any element you want. You can do any physical attack, though his evasion and his defense is extremely high. But once you touch him, he puts up a magical shield where he will absorb one element, nullify one element, and be weak to one element. But he doesn't tell you which one it is, so without scanning, you just have to kind of take a shot in the dark. If you berserk him before you ever hit him, he's completely useless. All he will do is physical attack, and he will never do his elemental shield change. So he's just kind of a pushover now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Atma weapon, because of Magimaster's high evasion, will not land. But it doesn't really matter because we have access to Ice 3, we have access to Shock. Either of those are going to get through this fight in 4 or 5 turns. Whereas that offering would do this in maybe 2 turns, probably 1 turn, possibly 2. Or another experience egg for Knuckly. Hopefully that goes on as Yumaro, just in case.
Just for the laughs, yeah. And I was going to say that as well. Offering does it instantly makes all of your attacks 100% accuracy. Sure, you can't target, but you're never going to miss. So no matter how much defense or evasion Magimaster typically has, you're going to hit 100% of the time. You're going to cut through all of his defense and just shred him up. But with no offering, that's not an option.
All right. Oh, this is a great example. Is Sabre Wolf aware?
It doesn't
the
seem like
best
either of
block?
our runners know, yeah.
It doesn't matter though when you're doing 9k Luminous Wings.
But technically he'd be dead right now, right? So one extra round, no big deal. But it is good to know if you're going to get into any kind of new flag set, just to take a quick peek at the flags and see, you know, what can you exploit, especially if you're doing something fun like what we have, our Living Seed, or even some of our Chaos tournaments and things like that. Very important to check those flag sets for any advantage you could possibly find. Undead bosses are indeed on in the Moogle Cup flag, so good old Phoenix Down would have taken him down right away.
Hey, Physics, if I was an aspiring new player and I was interested in learning Worlds Collide, what type of program could I go through and possibly play in that would help me reach my goals?
Yeah, that is something important for us to bring up. We have mentioned the Moogle Cup quite a few times, but we do have a reoccurring Moogle Cup tournament where any aspiring learners of Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide can sign up. They will be paired with a mentor that will they will mentor them one-on-one, teach them all the ropes of the game, teach them how to get fast, teach them all the tips and tricks and everything that they need to succeed. And then you get to sync race along with other Moogles. We need 16 signups in order to begin the next Moogle Cup. So if you were interested in learning this randomizer, getting paired up, getting a little bit of sync racing under your belt in preparation for the upcoming Ultras League 7, that's your ticket. And you can find it over at ff6worldscollide.com. Join our Discord. We're an incredibly helpful group of people. We'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction.
And we do actually have a graduate of our Moogle Cup program. If that individual would like to chime in, if he's listening to me right now in the background, if he, let's see. Oh, no, Gretham's not taking the bait. All right,
well, I'm here. I was just
there he goes. There he goes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Moogle Cup was good. I enjoyed it. It was lots of fun.
Yeah, now it's
Absolutely.
official. Gretham said so.
I have heard it is a great time. The amount of skill that we saw demonstrated by our Moogles, especially toward the end of the tournament, was fantastic. Like, the amount of progress you can make in this randomizer just by joining the Moogle Cup is, you know, it cannot be overstated. But maybe you're not really in the mood for the whole sync racing thing and having the whole pressure of, you know, trying to go through all of that and keeping up with schedules. But there's some other ways you can get some tutoring in this. Isn't that right, Glue?
Yes, we do have a mentor program in which you can sign up to be also mentored by a seasoned Worlds Collide player. You can find that pinned in our official Discord, which you see the link conveniently placed in the chat by our artificial intelligence Nightbot. That is pinned in the beginner's house in our Discord, which is the natural landing spot. Just another option for you if you'd like to learn some Worlds Collide.
Most definitely. And, you know, we have that mentorship, but also if you just don't want to talk to anybody and you just want us to give you some tips and tricks on what you could have done on a previous run, if you just submit one of your VODs, we'll be more than happy to watch it. We'll comment on it, kind of give some thought processes on what could have been done better, what was done really well, you know, how can we improve based on what you're looking to gain from the review. So we have a lot of options for you to improve at this randomizer, whether you're a beginner or even a seasoned veteran. You know, we have some of our Mega Elixir runners still looking for VOD reviews just to up their game that little bit more.
All right, KunckleyKong has found the Magi Master that will give him no problems. Very nice to find this here as opposed to 30 minutes ago. Or excuse me, maybe even 45 minutes ago because you're so overpowered. So nothing is really going to give our characters much trouble except for some few hiccups here or there for some random use cases. So I think we're just at a point now where we can kind of speculate, formulate, how do we think the final fight's going to go for Sabre Wolf? How do we think the final fight's going to go for Knuckly? Because that is the hardest part of a solo character challenge.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I see as an issue, especially on Sabre Wolf's side, is he lacks the ability to break damage cap, which can make Tier 3 remarkably dangerous. KunckleyKong picked up that Genji glove. He's got the double Illumina, so he can do serious amounts of damage. Which I think will give KunckleyKong the advantage here in terms of the Kefka fight.
Yeah, I just want to touch a little bit on the inability of breaking the damage cap, especially on tier 3. The reason that is important is because if we can't break the damage cap, that means we have to take 6 turns to get through tier 3, right? Because the back part has 9,909 HP, and if we can get to the damage cap non-elementally, that means that guy is going to go down in 1 turn. And then Sleep, the front part that is remaining, has 40,000 HP, and if we cannot get over the damage cap, that means we can at best do 9,999 5 times. And thus, that means 1 turn for the back, 5 turns for the front, 6 total turns at a minimum to get through tier 3. The problem with that is that tier 3 can use Condemn on his second turn. Or excuse me, Sleep on tier 3 can use Condemn on a second turn. He will either use Condemned or a single targeted physical attack. And if he uses Condemned and we have to do 3 or 4 more turns worth of 9,909 HP damage and get Calmness Protection equipped on ourselves, we're not going to have enough time to do that. So worst case, best case scenario, you can just kind of YOLO it. Maybe you kill him and Calmness misses. But we also may not have that Illumina anymore. Maybe we traded that Illumina for an Atma weapon for a little more punch or something else, and we don't have the requisite evasion to comfortably block that. So we run into a lot of problems on tier 3 when we can't break the damage cap. These Enochs are
a lot of problems.
they're
We have
giving Knuckly the
these
Skull
Inox.
Dragon treatment here.
Yeah, arguably worse because they're just cold dusting over and over and over and over. And I understand why he's doing this. He's just making sure he can't get Doom Gaze, so he's looking for some grind fights. Unfortunately going to shock herself, which is going to really hurt.
Yeah, if
no.
right
Yeah.
here. Oh no, you can't.
Oh no. So this is pretty disastrous. I would consider just resetting if he saved after Guardian spot.
I would assume he did, but you know what they say when you assume. Fortunately for Knuckly, the most dangerous character on his screen is a Celeste. So maybe Celeste just immediately runs away after she's unfrozen here.
We can only hope, because these guys are not doing any physical attacks. She will never be broken out of Muddle unless she does it herself.
If she breaks herself out of Muddle, she's going to break herself, out of this realm and into a reset because she won't be around long for this Lord because she's going to...
You are right, because she has Illuminas on right now, not that Atma. If it was the Atma, it'd be no problem, but it's not the Atma.
Yeah, and we'll know here in about 3 minutes when this freeze finally wears off.
Man. This definitely shows one of the issues that you can have in Kefka Phase 2 as well on Tier 2, because you can get North Crossed by Tigerface, who also does the same thing, and you just get to stand there and do nothing for an extended period of time while he beats on you. You might get lucky, maybe you didn't mute magic in the back yet and he throws a fire at you, but odds are not great that that's going to happen. So getting frozen in Tier 2 can be very devastating. Part of the reason why having a good ice shield on during that would be clutch, and that goes back into the Genji glove strats. You could have that ice shield, protect from North Cross, switch into your double weapon starting Tier 3, or after you kill Tiger is fine too.
Yeah, I just... Knuckly, remember Knuckly found that ribbon early on in the game and he elected to sell it?
He did, but he had one afterwards. He sold one and he found another one. I think he still has it, unless he sold it later.
I think that would be very unfortunate if he decided to sell the second ribbon as well.
Yeah, he had it on pretty early. I had noticed that he still had one on, so he sold a duplicate or got lucky and found another one after he sold the original one. Vectigoil should get him where he needs to go, though. This should level him, I would assume. This is a really, really powerful grind fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sabre Wolf is working his way through the tower yet again, while Knuckly still has not completed it one time.
Completely unabated. Sabre Wolf is blitzing right through it. He's on his last run now.
Yep. Again, so some would almost argue that the real fight would not start in this seed until you start the final fight because of all the different things we're going to throw at you. Double Illumina swings there for Knuckly. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. I mean, it can help in Tier 3, but I'd probably consider switching to maybe the Atma Ragnarok if you're going to go up when you do Tier 3. just to avoid those Pearl procs on Girl, at least for the first attacks.
Well, you can also, well, unfortunately, if you're Illumina back road, you kind of hinder yourself. And again, as I mentioned earlier, on tier 3, you don't want to spend time rowing. You don't want to spend time casting Calmness Protection on yourself if you are condemned. So that's something to keep in mind as well there. What does he want to do? But
That is very true.
I think when he's that close to breaking the damage cap or getting the 9,999 with one swing, the second swing will finish it up. So he just needs the first swing to not proc one time. And I think that's more viable than doing multiple switcheroos throughout the various fights.
That is a good point. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, especially with the rowing aspect due to the whole condemned timer problem. Sabre Wolf about to fight the last boss of his run. Let's see what the seed has in store.
One last chance for
hurrah.
Doomgaze.
And it's a joke, so I don't think we're going to have much of an issue with Atma Weapon. Thankfully, this is not his big brother Atma, aka Toilet Atma, found in Kefka's Tower, who would have absorbed that pearl. But nah, it's no such problems with the regular Atma Weapon found in the floating continent. Down he goes, so we're going to probably get a quick save here and hop right into the Kefka battle, so this should be very interesting. I'm not sure what calmness protection they have, or if they have mute or anything like that from their espers. So
I believe we have Siren as an esper, but we also learned mute at some point in time, and then we have Phantom and Fenrir. So either one is just fine. I would personally, this is going to be controversial, but I would probably take, if I'm going to do the Genji Glove strategy that Lucky is doing, I would take Phantom. If I was just going to single target this, like Sabre Wolf is going to have to do, then I would take Fenrir.
yeah, that's true, because Phantom is quite fast, and you can, if you're breaking the damage cap, and you do your math correctly. Let's not forget about the whole math aspect of Sleep's scripting. But as long as you can get him as close to about 29,000 as possible, without crossing it, then you can go ahead and kill him outright in one more attack. So just Phantom and go. But there's another thing that I have a question for you in that one. We're dealing with solo Celes. So there's a pretty large chance you cast Phantom on yourself, and then Sleep gets an attack and breaks you out of it. Isn't that right?
That is true. But if you have that single, so Sabre Wolf has the Cat Hood and the Illumina equipped, that puts his evasion at 90. So essentially, there is such a small chance that Calmness is going to hit that it's almost not. It's really not relevant. It's going to hit you about 10% of the time. The math is a little slightly off, but that's about where it's going to come out to.
So you mean about 80% of the time? Because that seems to be what always happens. It's like, 10%, I have the best evasion in the game. You get hit anyway.
we say that, but again, numbers at the numbers, and then bias, is bias. So if you get up there and you get 3 or 4 times and 10% happens 3 or 4 times, there's unfortunately nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it's going to be sometimes. Whereas Phantom is going to make some other tiers a lot more convenient. And there is the possibility that if you keep Sleep's HP check in check and you're able to manage it, that you can cast it in between one of his turns where he has a chance to do nothing, and then he just does nothing while you were casting it, and then you just swing on through and work your way through it.
That's true.
But that
also,
takes
they have life 3. They have life 3 as well, so that could be an option.
That is true, but that's also a lot of manipulation. That also banks on the count that are the fact that you don't get condemned, because if you get condemned on tier 3, you just gotta go. You start playing. Let's see if he does this on this turn. Let's see if he does that on this turn. Let's wait and do this. You just kind of gotta go.
Definitely. One thing you'll be seeing in this fight for Sabre Wolf here on tier 1 is that, yes, it forces 2 characters in, but you'll see that he is doing multiple things to avoid any kind of impact. And that is, he's not weight tricking with them, and he's not acting with them. He's not defending with them. He's doing absolutely nothing, just letting them stand until they die. So once they're dead, they will be kicked out of the fight. He'll have to repeat that. No, he won't. There's only 2 other characters he brought with him. So now that they're dead, it'll just be Celes for the rest of this fight. Dealing with tier 1 here, we have 3 different targets. We have the long arm closest to the camera with the open hand. That one is instant killable, which we saw Celes use break on. So it was instantly killed. The head is weak to fire, and the short arm, it just likes to punch a lot. So it does a lot of counters, it just hits a lot. The main tactic here is kill the long arm first, kill the face, and then kill the short arm last. What that'll do is it avoids 2 potential counters. If the long arm dies last, it'll do multiple shockwaves on you. If the head dies last, it does quake on you. Neither of which is very desirable. Short arm will just punch you in the head maybe, and then the fight's over. We're on to tier 2, arguably one of the most dangerous ones in a solo challenge. What do you think, Glue? Is this one more scary, or tier 3? Or maybe even tier 4 with those Havoc wings?
As long as Sabre Wolf has the ribbon equipped, which he does, this tier isn't scary. He'll comfortably make his way through it. It's just the habit of that you have to go through tier 1, then you have to go through tier 2, and then you have to kind of hopefully RNG doesn't curse you on tier 3 and tier 4. So he'll have no problem with this tier. It's just what's going to happen above this, and then thus if the stuff goes south on the tiers above this, you have to go through these again to get back up there and get a second chance on them.
Definitely. We did see that Siren was used, which just shuts up magic in the back there, who is the one that'll just cast a lot of magic. And he immediately tried to muddle, which we've seen how muddle can be, shall we say, problematic in this particular type of
We've seen it come
challenge.
up a time or two on the other side of the screen, yes.
Yes, so being able to avoid that is great, but unfortunately, is this going to be... No, a ribbon will negate that as well, yes?
Yep.
Good,
Yes,
good.
indeed. Out comes Flare Star. Flare Star is typically very scary at this high of a level, but because we have that Flame Shield, it's just going to heal us. But as you kind of saw right there how much damage Flare Star does when you're that high of a level, it does 4,800 damage. That wouldn't have killed us if we were at full health, but obviously you can't eat too many 4,800 damage attacks and live to tell the tale.
Definitely, but we're seeing just how good having a Minerva is. It really does just reduce the danger of this fight in general. Looks like he's opting not to use... Oh, you actually cannot break Tools, who is in the middle there. So just going to have to kill her the normal way, it looks like.
Yes, indeed. While weak to instant death, not weak to stone, which is just break.
That is something important to remember, is that Phase 1, the long arm, can be broken, so can be turned to stone, but Tools in Tier 2 cannot. And after that, there's no more instant death available at all. So that's part of the things that you learn pretty quickly when dealing with this Kefka fight, is what's weak to what status ailments are really good, who should you target first, what are the dangers, because things can spiral pretty rapidly.
All right, pop quiz for you, Physics. How much HP does Tools have?
You know,
On Tier 2.
I'm not gonna lie at all. I never remember HP values. All I know in this fight is that Magic has the most. I want to say it has 40,000 on Magic's
Yes,
side.
indeed. Tools has 24,000 for reference, by the way, for future reference.
24,000. All right, got you. Yeah, I just have put 0 brain power into remembering HP values unless it really, really matters. And the way that I use it in this phase in particular is, do I have area effect attacks? Do I have multicast Ultima? Do I have multicast Merton? What do I have? Because I know that I can kill 3 of the targets before Magic ever dies. And that's really all I care about.
Yep. So that's one of those things too to know about in future, or convenient to know in future sheets, because they say you had access to Merton or Ultima here, and you wanted to kill Magic last. If you just fire off Merton 3 times in a row and it does 9,909 damage to everything on the screen, it's going to by default kill everything in front of it first before it ever kills Magic. So you can safely eat the counterattacks, be prepared for what may be coming at you, and then go on about your business.
Yeah, and one thing to be extremely wary of when it comes to Tier 2 is killing multiple things at once when you're not prepared for it, especially if you kill Magic and hit at the same time, because what can happen is Magic likes to cast Quarter when he has his death counters, which could bring you down to 25% of your life. And then if you kill hit at the same time, you get 10 hits immediately afterwards, where you're going to be punched in the face 10 times. Assuming you get hit by most of those, it can very easily be a wipe, even a full party wipe, if things don't go well or your defenses aren't high enough. So being mindful of who you kill and when, and avoiding multi-target kills, at least those 2, is extremely important.
So pivotal moment here. sleep, the bottom guy will open up with either doing nothing 1/3 of the time, doing W win 1/3 of the time, or casting Merton as he just did. His second turn is pivotal because he has a chance to do nothing, or excuse me, he has a chance to do a physical attack, or he has a chance to inflict condemned. And as you can see by the damage we are doing, based on the number of, everybody knows how much HP sleep has. If we're only doing 7,000 a swing and we get condemned, it's going to be a while before we are able to get through that. Possibly before we whittle through him. But luckily on a second turn sleep does nothing. He doesn't inflict condemned. So that's a huge boon there for Sabre Wolf.
Yeah, that is huge. And as I mentioned before, he doesn't have a Genji glove, so we're kind of at the whim of just doing about these 8,000 damage swings. I think this is going to be a 10,000 Pearl.
Yeah.
But that does push him into counter phase, so that's a bit scary. But Illumina has a 100% hit rate, so maybe he just smacks him and finishes it up.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Ribbon is going to negate anything Train's going to do to us. However...
That was very lucky. That was not very lucky.
Oh, no.
That's okay. That's okay.
We
got life 3.
Yeah, very okay.
So fantastic. I don't know if you saw that, but he knocked him into train phase and then hit him again, and Sleep was like, you know what, I'm okay with this. No Meteo. So he didn't get countered at all. Ate the calmness, but was prepared with the life 3. So he's right on the way to Final Kefka.
So
go ahead.
On tier 4, Sabre Wolf, what he's going to need to do here, just let the fallen one come out. Just act for one turn, let the fallen one come out. Then elixir yourself. And then it's going to be kind of pivotal that Sabre Wolf stays at that 5,200 HP throughout as much of this fight as possible. Because Havoc Wing by default does around 3,400 damage. So you can't eat 2 Havoc Wings because we don't have 6,800 maximum HP. We can eat 1, and then we need to heal up again, and then vice versa. Oh, that's a mistake there because he's going to get fallen 1 anyways.
Yeah, immediately down to 1 life before he gets his ATB full. So I'm sure he's realizing that mistake right this very moment. Like, man, I should have just swung.
So he needs to stay at 5,200 HP as much as possible. Also, his life 3 getting it back up on himself wouldn't be a fantastic idea because that Ultima will be single target. It will not be split against other party members because they're all down on tier 1 taking a nap.
That would likely kill a single target, even at this level, would it not?
It does around in the high 4,000s, I believe, on a single target. So with that one character, that's why he needs to, keep his HP as max as possible because I think he's right on the fringe.
Got it. He's getting a lot of procs here, so he's pushing real hard. He's already at about 40,000, 50,000 damage, so he might be able to finish here if he gets a lucky proc. If not, he'll eat this Goner and we'll need to heal, but doesn't look like it worked.
So this Goner is not going to do much damage as you think it would because the Sabre was amazing equipment. However, it's going to push him below that threshold for Havoc Wing and other stuff too.
Ooh, that's a little risky. He went ahead and threw that life 3 on right now, and what can happen is after this he can life 3, but we're in double Havoc Wing territory here. So, order of operations might be a little scary here. I might have put that life 3 on a little earlier, but I'm hoping he doesn't have to pay for that. Glue, what does Revenger do? I still have no idea several hundred seeds later.
It takes revenge on your enemy. So what Revenger does is it removes any positive status elements that is on your party that is not inflicted by an item. So for example, if you had haste going, if you had life 3 going, it's going to wipe it away. Unless of course you had running shoes at casting your haste on you, then that will stay.
He did have life 3 and now he doesn't have life 3.
Yes.
So hopefully he knows that. I wouldn't have because I really had no idea what Revenger did.
Huge moment here. Who gets his off first? This might be
that should do it.
Crack
that's
GG.
a GG. Let's get our GGs in chat for Sabre Wolf coming in first today. Well done.
Well done indeed.
That was pretty scary toward the end there, but it worked out. Kefka was the friendliest he could have possibly been, doing the 2x Revengers. No Havoc Wings at all, so you love to see it. KunckleyKong reset. Oh, is he is he forfeiting, or are we gonna finish it up here?
I think he just accidentally closed his emulator instead of resetting.
Okay. I was like, uh-oh, what happened?
Yeah, here he comes. He's coming back up.
Okay. And we are joined by Sabre Wolf, the victor of today's solo Celes race. Congratulations, well played. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. It's my first head-to-head race on a restream, so that's kind of good. But I do feel a little dumb because I forgot that this seat set's based on Moogles first, not Ultras League, so it's 2 of for skip, not 1 of. So the 10 minutes I spent to get shortcut with 22 checks was just completely wasted, other than I got a bunch of levels. But other than that, it felt good. I mean, it definitely could have been a sub 90. That was a really fast run.
Absolutely, and we did notice that. We're like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Is he went up to Narsh and he just fought the dragon and left, and what's going on? They were like, oh wait, you know what? He probably is looking for the 22 check skip, and we saw you check it. We're like, yep, there it is. Seeing that it requires 2, because we want those Moogles to be running the tower. We don't want them to be skipping all the time, so that makes sense. There's one other thing that maybe you didn't know about this flag set, and that's that 100% of the items are available in the Coliseum. You could see every single thing there.
Yeah, but I already had everything I needed. I had a Minerva, I had a Cat Hood, and I had an elemental shield. I had an elemental fire shield and an Illumina. There was no reason for me to go to Coliseum because I had everything I needed, and I wanted a ribbon and memento ring to do the end game with, because I want to be immune to basically anything that was going to get thrown at me, instantly kill my run. So I was like, well, I have all the tools I need. There's no reason for me to go to Coliseum. And also, I think like the second or third chest I opened was an experience egg. So I was like, oh, well, I have all 3 relics I wanted for this whole entire run, and I also got the Minerva. So I was like, I'm good.
That's fair. We were thinking that you might want to go there for an offering, and we noticed that you were, and neither you nor KunckleyKong were really looking through monsters in a box too much, despite the experience egg as well as the Atma weapon. Was there sort of a reason why you chose not to go that route?
Yeah, I mean, anything I was going to fight was going to be bosses, and if it was multiple heads, just use shock. Keep the Illumina on. It gives you more defensive stats, gives you the evade and stuff like that, and there's no point in anything that was going to pop up. I whack it once instead. So there's no reason to waste your time with a weapon and offering, because you had multiple offensive tools. And if that wasn't enough, I had like 6 elemental shields. So like for the toilet Atma, just blow my shield and my rod on that, could get out of that fight immediately, because that one can go sideways, and that's my offense. I mean, I didn't really need to go for an offering or anything. There's no reason. There was no point. I had Illumina, I had shock. So
fair enough. Glue, what you got for Sabre Wolf?
So as you know, this is our submission run. This is one of our second submission run for Gamers Against Suicide. So I wanted to give you a moment here, Sabre Wolf, and ask you before we turn our attention back to KunckleyKong. What does this submission mean for you? Because you were the one who set all of this up and was looking forward to get a second submission going. What does this mean to you, running for this cause and submitting for this cause? And would you like to elaborate on that?
yeah, sure. So when I saw this marathon event pop up on our Discord, I was like, I need to be a part of this event. Back in March of this year, I've been going through a lot of difficult times, financially and emotionally and like that. And back in March, I had a really bad interaction with one of my bosses at work, an interaction with my wife, and I just decided to just grab my car keys and drive. And I drove north for about a half an hour, completely random place, never been there before. And the whole way up, and leading up to that too, for like a couple weeks leading up to that, I was thinking about doing that to myself. Finally, after about 25 minutes or so, I finally just snapped out of it, and I came across this amazing waterfall out in the middle of nowhere, and I just sat there for about a half an hour after that. So I was gone for like an hour. Nobody knew where I went, and I just thought about things a lot and tried to calm myself down and brought myself back to earth and kind of like contemplated other things I need to do. And I finally just said, "The heck with it! I need to go see a doctor. I need to get help now."
Hmm.
Um, so I went to one of my doctor's offices, and I kind of broke down there and cried. But I did get the help I needed. Took a lot of time off work to try to heal mentally, and it's weird how like you heal from injuries, broken bones, sprains, whatever. I mean, you also have to heal emotionally in your head too, and try to fix things. And when this event came up, and the fact that I kind of went through that earlier this year, 2024, I definitely wanted to be a part of this. And the reason why I wanted to do this solo Celeste run, because for lore of Final Fantasy VI, when you start the second act of the game, and originally when they developed this game, Celeste contemplated doing the same exact thing. Originally, they did not have a choice to save Sid. You just lost Sid immediately, and she was just going to fail to do that to herself anyways. And
Hmm.
so that kind of is like a throwback to playing a character, fighting through all the hardships and everything to get through what this run is, with a character that also thought about doing that, and that kind of just links it all back around in a circle. So, and I do appreciate you all helping me with this, and unfortunately, it looks like KunckleyKong reset. I feel bad for him. Um, and I do appreciate KunckleyKong joining with me and also helping with the suggestion of doing this. So, and that's what this means to me. It really hits home for me.
Yeah, and
Well, I,
just
for one, just want to express that, I am glad that you have been able to find the help that you need. I greatly appreciate all the contributions you've had to this community, and, I'm just glad that you're able to find, you're able to get the help that you need to get to a better place. And, I know we all appreciate having you here, and it's great to have you still around. So thank you so much for, putting this on as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And Glue, I know I interrupted you there.
no, I was just gonna touch on that. And this is what Sabre Wolf situation, as he mentioned, this is why it touches home for him, is that Gamers Against Suicide, this marathon supports the AFSP, or more formally known as the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So for some individuals that are going through some tough times, that feel like that could be an option, that is not always the option, that there are resources available, that there is help available, and that we are supporting and getting the message out there for those individuals.
Yeah, and anything that helps with that cause is definitely huge in my book. I love doing marathon events. I love helping people and everything. Want to continue to do that, and this is probably the cause that hit closest to home for me. I mean, for that, you have cancer prevention, you have other stuff like that. But this one just kind of hit differently for me this year, and I really want to be a part of it and really want to help out everybody. So.
Absolutely. And, the bravery that you showed being able to share your story here, I must say, is very commendable as well. It takes a huge amount of courage to be able to speak on things like this so openly. So, I think it's really important that not just gamers, but anybody in general is able to sort of hear these stories, and that, there can be a light at the end of the tunnel, and there are people that can help, and there are people who care. And, we hope that, in hearing these stories, that other people can be, motivated or inspired to experience that healing for themselves.
Yep, and I also appreciate my workplace. When the last day I was kind of having a little bit of a internal meltdown at work, and I finally just said I need to call my HR, and I called my HR rep, and I go, hey, I need to leave, and I need to leave for a while. Like, I need to get help. And she totally hooked me up. She got me help with an EAP through work, which I don't have to pay for. The first 10 sessions you don't have to pay for, so look into that from your workplace. Also, certain states, at least my state does, has FMLA available, so I was able to take 3 months off, all paid. My company is a wonderful company for giving me the ability to do that and still get paid to take care of my family while I just literally just healed. And I first 2 weeks of it, I kind of just laid in bed, like, and just kind of just try to figure everything out. So, but yeah, I mean, I do appreciate my workplace too, and I also appreciate you all for all the stuff that I get the feedback from you guys that you guys enjoy all the work I do for this community and everything. So I do appreciate that as well.
Yeah, very well said. And then KunckleyKong's giving his tier 3 another go here. And then just give you one more thank you, Sabre Wolf. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for running with us tonight. Thank you for being the one to put all of this together. Yeah, just thank you overall, and wish you a good night, my friend.
Yep. And the ultimate thing that came to me, the reason why I didn't want to do it is because of my kids. I didn't want to leave them behind. That's pretty much the number one reason why that I need to be there for them. So, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Come
Absolutely,
on, Knuckly.
my friend. But I do appreciate everything that you did for us today and setting up this this run for us. Looks like KunckleyKong did get through to tier 4, so hopefully he'll be wrapping this up here soon as well.
So get back on game wise. I feel like I was behind given that run with all the extra stuff I did. I'm assuming.
I'd say you were maybe a little bit behind for a little while there because you did the Opera House early. So you did Opera House right off the gate, and he did it toward the end, actually. And you were maybe a little bit behind at the start of Kefka's Tower, but things just didn't go quite well for KnucklyKong in there. He had to do a little bit of grind fight in preparation for potential Doomgaze, and he ended up being frozen by Inox for about 5 minutes. So that didn't go very well. He eventually just had to run away from it. He was preparing for a potential Doomgaze. He was level 55 and wanted to get off of that. So he took some grind fights before the middle statue, and he fought the 3 Inox, the robots that can freeze you. And he just got chain frozen and then confused, and then he shocked himself. Yeah, it was really bad. He couldn't even run away. So he eventually was able to run away. But that's a GG's for KnucklyKong. Everybody, let's get our GG's in chat for that perseverance, getting taken out by Calmness at the end of his first run there, and coming on back and finishing it up for us.
All right.
But that's all I got for you, Sabre Wolf. Glue, you got anything else for our man Sabre here?
No, sir. Again, thank you one more time, and then we're gonna get Knuckly's thoughts here in just a moment. There he is. Knuckly, GG's. Congratulations on your finish there. First and foremost, I got a lot of questions I want to ask you, but I think I'll start with this. Did you learn your lesson about how Inox are dangerous yet tonight, or
oh yeah,
are you gonna let that one linger?
Yep, that one is going to stick with me for a while.
Yeah. So what?
The only reason I took another fight there is because I was level 55, and my worry was Doomgaze was going to be right after Magimaster.
Mm-hmm.
We may or may not have possibly maybe tried to inspire a little bit of Doomgaze action there, but it threw in a Magimaster instead, which quite frankly was kind of like a small child given the amount of power that you had. And you didn't even bother with Berserk. So you're like, I don't need Berserk. I'm just going to shock you to death. And you did.
If Shock wouldn't have been effective, then I would have switched out the 2 Illuminas for the 2 Atmas that I had and just gone to town on them that way.
See, I tried to equip an Illumina and I whiffed him the first try. I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to do that now.
I just saw Magimaster and I was like, all right, this is where Shock comes in endgame.
Yeah, and he went down in no time flat. Yeah, so actually I don't have a good question for you right now. I'm gonna let it stew for a moment. Maybe Drinks Glue has one for you.
No, so there was I did vet this seed, so there was a Doomgaze. Doomgaze was in Burning House, but Burning House wasn't required. So you could have done it to yourself if you chose to, but neither of y'all went there. I will say that I think it was Sabre Wolf did put the Illumina on because the Illumina doesn't miss. He put the Atma weapon on, and that missed. And then the Ragnarok and Atma weapon would have either missed or not done a lot of damage if it did connect on Magic Master save for the procs. But I when I saw him there, I knew it was going to be late enough in the seed that even if you just shocked him or whatever, that you're going to be so over level that he wasn't going to pose much of a threat. What was your like? I do want to ask you this. So what was your game plan? Because you've done a number of solo character challenges. What was your game plan going into this, trying to get some balance under yourself and get going through the seed?
I honestly thought about starting with the Opera House Disruption, but I decided not to because it is a little bit longer of a check. I knew I wanted to try to find early progression to get the scaling going, but that didn't really happen because I like getting a couple pieces of progression before going into checks with fights so that the enemies are more valuable. But I was really hoping I wouldn't have to do Kefka at Narsh. I don't know what the reward was. I never even went up the mountain in World of Balance Narsh. But I focused on checks that were guaranteed progression. So I knew Magitech was guaranteed progression at the 3rd spot, and then Doma Dream and Floating Continent. So I felt like it was a very linear seed. I'm glad I didn't have to go in and do any of Stragos checks. The main reason I did Search the Skies at the end was I was hoping for another Esper. If that would have turned out to be an Esper, then I would have looked for a 12th so that I could have gotten Skip. But it was another Illumina, which I was happy about. I knew the Genji Glove was in World of Balance Narsh, so I picked that up on the off chance that one of the optional bosses in the tower gave another Illumina, and I ended up not needing it because I got it from Search the Skies.
I do have to say, while I might not have very many questions for you, I do have to say I really appreciated the dedication to the craft of having the Yeti. I know it must have hurt you dearly to only be able to use Celes here, but I do love that regardless of that, you said you're coming with me to Kefka's tower. You're coming with me to Kefka as well. I know you can't stick around for very long, but you still represented the Yeti as the best that you could, and given the situation. So well done there.
Well, absolutely, he deserved more screen time than what he got, but I'm glad I was able to find him.
So Knuckley, I do want to ask you. Again, this was our Solo Celeste Challenge, a submission video for Gamers Against Suicide. What does suicide prevention mean to you, and what does doing a submission like this for an organization like this mean to you?
Anytime I can help out by raising awareness or helping raise money towards such a cause as this is just phenomenal. I believe that there is not enough support for suicide prevention, and suicide is a permanent fix or permanent solution to a temporary problem. So something like this that helps people get the support that they need, or just being able to talk to someone. If people watching the marathon are in the situation where they are contemplating suicide, then if this helps them just a little bit, it's worth it in the end. It's more than worth it. A little bit of time to listen to someone's problems goes a long way, and I personally have had a few friends that I had to sit with to make sure that they didn't do anything. And suicide prevention is huge, and there needs to be more awareness of it.
Very well said.
Absolutely, and we agree with that as well. And I think just about everybody, whether they're able to speak about it or not, many of us have been touched in some way. For those who either have committed suicide or are considering it. So I think it is in fact just an honor for me to be able to participate even in a submission, much less potentially for a run. So yeah, we definitely appreciate that you were able to take time out of your weekend to assist us in these endeavors.
Anytime, I am more than willing to help out. This one was more special than some of the other ones I did, so regardless of what I had going on, I was going to be here to participate and help out in any way that I was needed.
And we greatly appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Knuckley, for your kind words. Thank you for your insights. And then most of all, thank you for running on our submission video tonight. We appreciate you greatly, my dog.
I do want to say thank you to the restreamers and the commentators in the tracker. This would not be possible without you guys.
Yes, thank you guys for jumping in and doing this, especially kind of last minute because we were going to do something else tonight, and then this kind of popped up. It's like, oh, let's just do this now. Everybody's available, so we appreciate you guys doing it.
And a big shout out to Sabre Wolf. Thank you for racing against me. I had a lot of fun. I figured going into this, you were going to take the crown, and there is nothing wrong with that. But I know Celes is your favorite character.
Yes, she's my girl.
It was our pleasure. So yeah, anytime you guys need us, just let us know. We're always willing to do some restreams or submissions for you. So if you got some ideas, let us know.
Yep, we'll do. And the event will be taking place August 2nd through August 5th. So we'll see if we get accepted, and we'll see. We'll go from there.
Sounds great. Hey, if it does, I'm more than willing to commentate the official race as well. So, but that's all I got. Glue, anything else?
No, as the gentleman said, thank you to the runners. Thank you to Gretham for doing the tracking, doing the push-it buttons, everything that's fancy and complicated. Schwantz handled for us tonight. And then thank you to Physics for joining me in the broadcast booth and lending his beautiful voice to this marathon submission video for us. Thank you, my friend.
I'll give my beautiful voice anytime you need it.
All right, and then with that, Schwantz, do you have any final words to sign us off on?
Yeah, so this has been the submission run for Gamers Against Suicide.
He's muted.
I hope that...
He's probably not there.
Oh. I was muted on Discord, but not on OBS. I push the buttons sometimes, but I also push the wrong buttons more times than not. Anyway, so yeah, this has been our submission run. Hopefully, those that are reviewing the submissions consider this for their marathon submission. As we said, lots of really interesting options we can come up with this game, with Worlds Collide, and of course, hearing the stories that we had shared towards the end of the stream was really nice. So thank you, runners, for participating, and the crew for putting it all together. I'm just pushing the wrong buttons here, so yeah. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye, everybody.